The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was signed into federal law by President Bill Clinton more than 20 years ago, and it lays out a framework for ensuring that a very high level of scrutiny is given anytime government action impinges on the religious liberty of any American. After that, some 19 states followed that, adopted that statute, and after last year's Hobby Lobby case, Indiana properly brought the same version that then State Senator Barack Obama voted for in Illinois before our legislature, and I was proud to sign it into law last week.
All right, joining us now, folks, is Alan Keyes, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, three-time GOP presidential candidate. And Mr. Ambassador, welcome, sir. So that being the case, everything that Governor Pence said, that Barack Obama voted for the exact same legislation as a state senator in Illinois. Bill Clinton signed the federal version of this into law when he was president. Why is this becoming an issue now?
Well, I think, unfortunately, it's because there have been court decisions that purport to put things like homosexuality and gay rights in the category of fundamental right, unalienable right, as the Declaration says. And throughout American history, unalienable rights have trumped laws. So if a law requires somehow that you be in violation or allows or tolerates violation of basic unalienable rights, that law is struck down. That was the basis for the reasoning in things like Brown v. Board and other things that talk about how you can't have racial discrimination. So it's very problematic when you start fabricating rights to cover behavior rather than to cover those things that are, as it were, as the Declaration said, ordained by the laws of nature and of nature's God, so that there's no limit to the restrictions that you could put on religious conscience. The question I'd have is this. If you happen to be somebody who runs a kosher restaurant and people come want to get married and have a banquet at which all kinds of pork is going to be served, are the courts going to force you to cook pork?
That's a very good question. That's an excellent question. And of course, so what do you see as the future of this bill?
Well, I think the future ought to be that the people at the state level just need to stand their ground. I read an article today that suggested they're going to make changes and all of this. I don't think that that's at all appropriate. The courts are doing what they have no right to do. What under the Constitution, by the 9th and 10th Amendments, is explicitly forbidden to them. They are trampling on the antecedent rights of the people of the states to deal with the issue of marriage and things of this kind according to their sovereign will at the state level. That's clearly the case in the Constitution, and nothing that has been done subsequently at the constitutional level, like the 14th Amendment, in any way interferes with it.
Right.
It is a privilege of people at the state level to deal with these issues like marriage and the issues that are involved in religious freedom, and the courts at the national level have no basis for saying that they can invent a right and then force people to violate their religious conscience in the observance of this so-called right.
Let me switch gears here for a second. Of course, there's all kinds of talk about what's going on in Iran. Would it surprise you to hear that according to a reporter who was covering these talks, Laura Rosen, in Switzerland for the DC-based online publication Al Monitor, John Kerry, when asked in a deli or a grocery store, will there be a deal, he said, Allah willing.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think, unhappily, it's the mentality that's been dominant in the Obama administration. They have got a commitment, not only, by the way, to Islam and forces in Islam that have been deeply inimical to the United States, but they have in particular, in this particular instance, a commitment to one of the most active governmental forces that has been sponsoring terrorism against the United States and organizations that target the United States, because that's true on both sides, right? Whether you're talking about the Sunni or the Shiites, they have terrorist organizations hostile to the United States in both camps. And what I think is quite telling is not, though, the Islamic commitment, even though I think there was a certain dishonesty about the way that this man ran for office, right? Who knew he was going to be the first Islamic president? This was not even allowed to become a focus of any interest because he lied about it, and is still lying, in my opinion. But leave that aside. The question is the Islamic bomb, the Iranian bomb.
Yep.
and whether we're going to tolerate a negotiating approach that essentially comes to a deal that allows it to move forward. I think that's deeply dangerous to the world.
I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Ambassador, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you.
Alan Keyes, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, the Closing Bell Report with Jeff Yasteen. Don't go away.